Welcome to Tax Insights, presented by Hawkins Ash CPAs.
And good morning, listeners. Welcome back to Tax Insight here on 1240 Radio WOMT. We're with Jeff this morning. Jeff, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Terry.
Today, we're talking about vacation home rentals.
We are. Because as things start to open back up here in spring and summer, it's a good time to talk about those vacation rentals. Clearly last year was a bad year for vacation rentals. So I'm sure that there will be a lot of activity that happens this summer. Now, in the old days, if you wanted to rent out your personal residence or maybe your vacation property, it was done mostly because those properties were maybe on a nice lake in a warm climate down south, or maybe in a resort area. But now with, the internet and companies like Airbnb, things like that, people everywhere are renting out their homes. Sometimes these rentals can last hours, days, or even weeks.
So today, we're not going to talk about long-term rentals. We're just going to talk about short-term rentals, correct?
Right. So this would typically be rentals of your personal residence or your vacation home. It would not be a long-term rental.
So when is a home considered to be a personal residence or a vacation home?
So anytime that you use your personal residence or vacation home the greater of 14 days a year or 10% of the total rental days, it's considered a personal residence. And so then what happens is it's split. Part of it is a business because you rent it, and part of it is personal. So let's say, for example, that you rent your vacation home for 200 days a year, and then you use it for 20 days a year. Well, this is now considered a split property, and you have to split expenses, and you have to include that income on your return.
So how are rented days actually calculated?
Yeah, that's a good point because, you pick up your income based off of what's called rented days. And rented days are essentially any day that you rent it out at fair market value. It doesn't count days when, you're renting it out for free, maybe you're letting family members use it, things like that. It's only when you're renting it at fair market value that it's considered a rental day. And that rental day is important because, once again, that figures out how you allocate your expenses that you can deduct against that income.
So are there a number of days that you can rent your home for income? Is there a max or anything like that?
Well, you can rent your home as many days as you want. There's really no limit. But there is something kind of cool in the law, and that is if you rent your home for less than 15 days, the IRS does not require you to claim that income on your return. But once you rent it on that 15th day or more, then you have to pick it up as income on your return. So it's kind of a little loophole for those that, maybe just rent their home just a weekend or two.
Sure. So what kind of expenses can be taken because of all this?
Yeah, so obviously you have to pick up the income from your rental, and the expenses are just any kind of ordinary and necessary expenses that you have. It'll be part of your utilities, your garbage, and everything else that goes along with that. But you can also include things like, improvements. If you make improvements to the property, you can deduct some of those. You can depreciate the property that you owned. And once again, it's prorated. Those expenses are prorated based off of rental days versus personal days. And one thing to look at here is that, if you're not renting a property, that day is considered a nothing day. So in other words, let's say there's 365 days in a year, and let's say you used it for 30 days and you rented it for 60 days. When you figure out your percentage of how much of your expenses are deductible, you only use that total of 90 days. You don't use a 365-day year because the other days are just like they don't exist.
Interesting. So, Jeff, a lot of great information each and every week here on Tax Insight. You're right. We're starting to look ahead at summer, and this is all good stuff to know. How do people connect with you or the team at Hawkins Ash?
I would go to our website, which is hawkinsashcpas.com, or also we put a lot of good content out on Twitter and Facebook.
Awesome, Jeff. Thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
This has been Tax Insights, presented by Hawkins Ash CPAs. Learn more online at hawkinsashcpas.com. Hawkins Ash CPAs, part of your business, part of your life.